In today's video, we'll be diving deep into the sci-fi thriller. We're going to explore the plot, the characters, and the twists. But don't worry, we'll stop just before the climax to avoid spoilers. Let's get into it. The film opens by introducing us to Chris Johnson, a man who leads a seemingly normal life in Las Vegas, performing small magic tricks. But there's something extraordinary about Chris. He can see 2 minutes into the future. He keeps this ability hidden, using it only for small things, like making sure his performances go well, or winning small amounts at the casino without attracting too much attention. Chris lives a modest, lonely existence, constantly aware that if the wrong people find out about his gift, he'll be hunted and exploited. This is the essence of his conflict. Chris wants to live a quiet, unbothered life, but his ability is a double-edged sword. He's constantly trying to avoid detection, but he knows that his unique power sets him apart. The audience gets a glimpse of Chris's life through a few key scenes early in the movie. First, we see Chris performing magic tricks at a small Las Vegas venue. His stage persona is calm and collected, blending the art of illusion with the subtle use of his foresight. He doesn't rely entirely on his power to perform, but uses it to ensure everything goes according to plan. Then we see Chris at the casino. He's not a big gambler, just someone trying to make enough to get by. He wins just enough to fly under the radar. However, things start to spiral when he's spotted by security, who become suspicious of his repeated small wins. They believe he might be cheating, even though they can't prove it. Chris senses something is wrong. His 2-minute foresight allows him to see the casino security approaching before they even realize he's gone too far. Using his ability, Chris makes a clean escape from the casino, blending into the crowd before they can catch him. As the movie progresses, we get to know more about Chris and how he uses his gift. He's careful never to push his ability too far, always maintaining control over how much he lets others see. But despite his efforts, there's a sense of looming danger. The authorities are closing in, and we can feel the tension building. Chris's ability is fascinating, but also frustrating for him. He can only see 2 minutes into the future. No more, no less. It's a small window of time that offers just enough information to help him dodge immediate danger, but not enough to see the bigger picture. This makes his life a constant balancing act, as he tries to stay one step ahead of those who would exploit him. Enter Agent Callie Ferris, a relentless FBI agent. The FBI is aware of Chris's ability, and they believe it could be crucial in helping to prevent an imminent terrorist attack on Los Angeles. Ferris is determined to track Chris down, convinced that his power is the key to stopping the catastrophe before it happens. Ferris has been investigating Chris for some time, studying surveillance footage and gathering intelligence. She knows he's not a criminal, but she also knows that his ability makes him incredibly valuable. Her superiors are skeptical, but Ferris is certain that Chris's foresight is their best shot at preventing the attack. Ferris gets clearance to track Chris, setting up a full-scale manhunt. She believes that with the right pressure, Chris will agree to cooperate with the government. But catching someone who can see 2 minutes ahead isn't going to be easy, and Ferris knows she's in for a challenge. Meanwhile, Chris begins to have a vision that's different from anything he's ever experienced before. Normally, he can only see 2 minutes into the future, but this vision shows him something much further ahead. A woman named Liz Cooper. He sees her in a diner, and something about her is different. Chris can't explain why, but he feels a strong connection to her, one that goes beyond his usual glimpses of the future. This vision is a turning point for Chris. It's the first time his foresight has extended beyond the typical 2-minute limit, and it intrigues him. He becomes determined to find Liz, believing that she holds the key to something important in his future. Chris arrives at the diner waiting for Liz. Hours pass, and Chris waits patiently, knowing that eventually she will walk in. When Liz finally arrives, Chris's vision begins to unfold in real time. He introduces himself to her, and they hit it off instantly. But as they talk, Chris is careful not to reveal too much about himself or his abilities. Chris and Liz's connection deepens quickly, and they decide to go on a road trip together. Chris feels a sense of relief with Liz, like he can finally live a normal life, free from the constant pressure of his ability. For the first time in a long while, he feels like he might have a future beyond just surviving. But even as Chris and Liz grow closer, danger looms. The terrorists who are planning the attack on Los Angeles have gotten wind of Chris's ability, and they see him as a threat. If he helps the FBI, their entire operation could be jeopardized. The terrorists begin hunting Chris, determined to eliminate him before he can interfere with their plans. As Chris and Liz continue their journey, the tension in the film builds. The FBI is closing in, the terrorists are hunting them, and Chris is torn between living a normal life with Liz and using his powers to stop the terrorist threat. Chris's ability becomes both a blessing and a curse. He uses it to protect Liz from danger, anticipating threats before they happen, and keeping them one step ahead of their pursuers. But as the pressure mounts, Chris begins to feel the weight of his decision. Should he help the FBI and risk losing Liz? Or should he continue running and try to live a normal life? Throughout these tense moments, the film shows Chris's precognition in action as he avoids bullets, car crashes, and other dangers with split-second accuracy. But the closer Chris gets to the terrorist plot, the more he realizes that his powers might not be enough to stop what's coming. Eventually, Agent Ferris catches up to Chris. She confronts him with a proposition: help the government prevent the attack on Los Angeles, or continue running and risk letting the terrorists succeed. Ferris explains that the stakes are too high for him to ignore, and she makes a strong case for why Chris's abilities are the only way to save thousands of lives. Chris is reluctant. He's spent his whole life trying to avoid being used for his gift, and now he's faced with a choice that could change everything. But Ferris is persistent, and she doesn't back down. She knows that time is running out, and she needs Chris's help to stop the attack before it's too late. Chris's internal struggle becomes the central focus of the movie at this point. He doesn't want to be a hero, but he knows that if he doesn't act, the consequences could be catastrophic. The film builds suspense as Chris wrestles with his decision, knowing that either choice could have far-reaching consequences. At the same time, the terrorists are putting their plan into motion. The attack on Los Angeles is imminent, and Chris's foresight becomes even more crucial. The terrorists know that Chris could be the key to their downfall, and they ramp up their efforts to take him out. The film shows glimpses of the terrorists' plan, heightening the tension as Chris, Liz, and Agent Ferris race against time. The stakes are higher than ever, and Chris is forced to push his powers to their limits. As the movie approaches its climax, Chris faces an impossible choice. He must decide whether to help the FBI stop the attack and risk losing the life he's begun to build with Liz, or continue running and protect the small bit of freedom he's managed to carve out for himself. The film leaves us on the edge of our seats as Chris makes his decision, but we won't spoil the ending here.